Hey everybody, we're going to do Brooke's Life in 5 minutes. One of the first things in life that I fell in love with were stories. My mother used to read to me every night before I went to sleep. The headboard in my bed was a bookcase and it was full of books. My favorite books were my peanut books, or as I used to call them, my Charlie Brown books. And I absolutely loved seeing Snoopy sitting on his doghouse as he typed out his adventure stories. And I thought, well, if he can make up stories, why can't I make up stories? So at that point, I started writing stories. I wrote them for years and would draw pictures and staple the pages together, make my own little book. I absolutely loved it. And when I grew older, or maybe I should say tall enough, I would go into my grandmother's closet and dig out her old fashioned typewriter to write my stories on. That way I could be more like Snoopy. Fortunately, we didn't have a doghouse. As I grew older and went on through school, I really realized I had a thing for math and science. And I thought that's what my life should be. I should take that path. Unfortunately, I laid my pen down. I didn't write again for many years. On the positive side, when I was about 10, my dad got me into playing sports. I discovered I was athletic, and that was good for me. It made me feel good about myself. But also, I like to say it kept me from being like Amy Farrah Fowler in the Big Bang Theory show. When I was in high school, I went to play cards with some friends, and when I sat down at the table, I sat down across from this really handsome guy with a head full of thick black hair and big green eyes. That was my future husband, Tim. We had an instant connection, and I often tell people, I say, well, he had me from, "Want to play Uno?" When we got married, and I worked and going to college at the same time, my parents divorced many years ago, so any money that was to send me to college was just gone. The first thing I wanted to do was be in medicine. I worked in the hematology lab at Baptist Hospital where I assisted on bone marrows and worked the emergency room some. And I often tell people, if you want to hear the name of Jesus, go in the emergency room, work in the emergency room for a while. You will hear it. And then one day I just got tired of it. It was very stressful, and I told Jim, I said, I'm going to do something else. I said, I'm good in math, so I'm going to the business side of it, which I did. I changed majors and got a business degree, and I worked in actually an insurance company for a while, did taxes for a while, worked in the banking and mortgage. And I mean, I could do it. I could do about anything I tried, but I just wasn't satisfied. Nothing ever really suited me. It was like I was a square, round peg in a square hole. Nothing just seemed quite right. And I never really got an answer in my prayers for it, so I just thought, well, I guess this is just my lot in life. When I was 27, we were blessed to have our daughter Sarah. When she was around 3 years old, she had a little Kool-Aid tea party one day on the front porch. And as I was watching her, I thought, what did I used to do at her age? I thought, I used to make up stories. So I ran back in the house and I got pen and paper and I sat back down across from her and I started writing. It was as if I never laid the pen down. The ideas just flowed from my head. It was like the downburst of it. All these ideas and words just flowed, and they came out so fast that I had a hard time writing them down quick enough. And I thought, this is my calling. This is the answer to my prayer. And God tried to tell me this when I was, you know, many years ago, but I didn't listen. Then I started going to writers' conferences. I joined writers' organizations. I took classes, and soon I was a published writer. And then I became an author. And my book, Deadly Doll, which is now Conniving Cousins, was up for an award that year. I was a finalist in the debut novel. So I went to the writers' conference to receive my certificate. All my other writers' friends had theirs, and I wanted one. And while I was there, I met with Jane Jenkins Hurlong. Well, my friends at work had told me that they loved hearing all my stories all the time. And Jane Jenkins was a speaker and a storyteller. So I met up with her and I told her a story about when I went to a Smokies game, which is a baseball game, and the lady in front of me had a bug in her hair. Let's just say it didn't go that well. When I got through telling it, she just sat there and looked at me for a second, and I thought, man, I made a big old fool out of myself. Then she leaned over to the table and said, "Oh, honey, you can do this." And she started giving me advice. And I could not believe she was telling me that. I just couldn't. But one of her best piece of advice was hook up with Kelly Swanson. I have did that. I have not looked back. And thank you, Kelly. It has made a big difference, not only in my writing, but my speaking and everything. Thank you.